Hello, fellow YouTubers, and welcome to episode 3. So, after a Democratic vote, people have decided to go out west for Maggiore instead of staying in the center. So, since the track is a little more technically involving than the center, I figured I'm going to ramp up the training. So, the title of this episode is kind of a two-part um, episode. One is finding treasures, and the other is using tools to help the handling of the car. So I'll start with point one. So, what do I mean about finding treasures? Each track has some nuances, um, and depending on how they decide it in Gran Turismo, um, there are some corners that you could actually find grip in by use of a corner or grass or something that won't upset the car or might even give you more grip to help you go through the corner faster. So every track's a little bit different, and there's another caveat to that is that there are also details on each track that will give you less grip. So being able to kind of play around and identify which spots give you more grip or less grip could really help with your lap times and improve your rankings, whether it be in qualifying or FIAs, etc. The second part is using tools. So I'm not talking just about using brake bias to change the handling of the car. There are a couple different things you do to help corner entry, exit, middle apex, etc. So one thing that I'm actually still constantly work on is probably my biggest flaw is downshifting. Um, you can actually use downshifting to help either stabilize the car on entry or help the car on rotation. And you'll see in the videos that I'm about to show you guys kind of me playing around using different things. Um, Another is basically how you're getting on the brakes when you're letting off and steering by throttle. Now, steering by throttle is probably like the hardest thing to master. And I don't expect you guys to master it on the off, but every car is a little bit different, and basically how you're getting on the gas and being able to use the rotation of the car to help you on corner exit. So without further ado, let's jump to the video and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Alrighty, so you find me here in the middle of practicing here at Lake Maggiore West, heading into the first quarter. So I want you guys to kind of pay attention on how I'm rotating the car. I'm going to focus more on using the tools first rather than finding treasure. So into turn one, downshifting. You see how the car kind of pitches towards the inside on these first two corners? That's what I'm talking about with using downshifting to help you rotating the car. Now, getting on the throttle is a little bit hard in a Miata. I'm not gonna lie, every car is different. A good car to practice steer it with the throttle is actually the Group 4 86 on Racing Hards. That's a pretty good car to practice steering with the throttle. A nice benefit too for using downshifting to help your rotation is if you kind of go too hot in a corner like I did just there and I slightly just missed the apex, or I know I'm going to miss the apex, I'll just click it down another gear just to kind of help rotate it. Now, just be careful. Some cars like downshifting with braking and others absolutely hate it. Now, you're probably thinking, what about penalties? Well, you're about to just see one right there. If you get all four on the grass before you hit the curb, you get a penalty. So, I'm going to fast forward a little later on in the video. So, I felt these next couple laps was pretty neat in showing you guys some of the tricks. So again, watch in turn 1 and turn 2, I'm kind of pitching the car using downshifting. Now I'm going to pause it right here. You see how I'm way on the curb over here? This curb actually gives you grip to help you turn in and kind of stay on the inside of the corner. So if you could exploit that, you'll be fine. Now here is kind of just a normal corner, nothing flashy about it or anything like that. Heading up towards the hill. Again, I'm going to try to use downshifting to help me rotate towards the apex of the corner. Because this one, you kind of want to rotate early, get on the gas as soon as you can. Now, that's a little bit too much rotation. You'll kind of... It's almost like it's a feel thing rather than technique. You'll be able, over time, to identify the difference between when you're sliding the car and losing time and when you're steering with the throttle and actually gaining time. It's kind of a feel, so to speak. If you need kind of like a Cliff Notes version, I would say if you're basically sliding, but you're finding that you don't have to really correct the oversteer, that's basically you doing it right. If you find you are having to put opposite lock to correct the slide, it means that you're using too much of it and you're actually scrubbing speed. That's probably like the best way I could probably tell you in that sense. So again here, I'm using some of the tools I know. So like this corner, stay on it. See how I didn't fully go past the center line for the steering? That's basically steering with the throttle. That's probably like the best visual representation I could probably give you guys. But like I said, it's more towards feel. It's not necessarily a technique. It's almost like you'll know it by feel for the most part, and this is why it's so hard to master. So that was a little. Now I'm going to pause it towards the end of this lap over here. I'm going to pause it right around. There's really no visual braking reference. There is this little patch of dirt that I kind of use for other series, but you're coming at it at such speed and you're kind of already looking at the apex. It's very, very hard. I'd probably say rule of thumb is before the 50. Now, I'm going to probably miss it on this lap, but you see this grate over here? That actually is pretty grippy. So if you can hook your tires on this, it'll help you out. And then the same with the exit of this corner over here. See, there's more grates over here. If you're able to hook your wheels on this, it's going to help you turn the corner and keep your speed up and be able to make it. The idea here is that you want to straight line this corner as much as you can. Especially climbing up the hill with this car with its limited power, it will help you shave lap time. This corner you can kind of take in a bunch of different ways. The main thing is that you want to carry as much speed out here as you can to help you out, finish your lap, and start your next lap. So, we'll watch it again. I didn't really pitch the car that time, but it's okay. That corner is not as important as probably these two corners, because this corner you want to set yourself up for the downhill. See, I had to lift a little bit. It's going to cost me a little bit, but not too much. So that's kind of what I mean about one, using tools, the downshifting, using the brakes, pitching the car and such, to find buried treasure, like using the curb over there to cut distance, using those grates towards the end of the lap to gain grip and keep my minimum speed up, using that curb all the way on turn 2, just so I could cut distance, essentially. See, look, I hit it nicely over here. Now, I did get on the grass a little bit too greedy, but it wasn't too bad. And if you guys nail it right, this is what the lap should ideally look like. And I'm about to play it in 3, 2, 1. So this is going to be the lap. So, as always, I will play the lap in full while shutting up, and then I'll actually break you guys down the lap. Now that is a lap, and you're about to see how good of a lap that is. That lap was a 139.93. So I'm just gonna skip the last corner. You kind of know having a good last corner will set yourself up for the lap. So no need to really beat a dead horse, so to speak. So I'm gonna play this halfway. So turn 1, right? So I'm braking just as the pit exit wall ends. Again, so I'm turning in. I want to use as much of this curb as I can. Now, if you hit the grass, I tend to notice that the car really bounce up and kind of disorients the car. Um, so you kind of need to find the right balance between using as much curb as you can and overdoing it and throwing yourself off. But ideally, you don't want to be all the way over here. You kind of want to leave yourself some room to be able to turn in for the next one. Now, I use basically the end of this white area over here as my reference. So just before it ends, I'm ready on the brake. And I'm using first gear to help pitch the car on rotation and use as much curb as I can over here. Right? So I kind of noticed the car was over rotating a little bit too much, so I had to add a little bit, but not a big deal because it's not a big straightaway, so it's not really that much time being lost. The main thing is you want to suffer yourself off this corner. Now, I just nibble on this yellow curb over here. You don't want to use too much of it because again, kind of like the first corner, if you use too much, it's just going to bounce the car over and really going to upset you. So I just nibble on it just a little bit, getting a nice exit. Basically, the next two S's over here is flat out. You want to just put in as much steering input as you can to make the corner without scrubbing speed. But you basically want to clip these two and cut your distance as much as you can and draw out the power. So fast forward to the next corner, which I went a little too fast. Right before, come on YouTube, come on! Right before you reach the flag board thingy, that's when I start to brake. Now I am using a little bit of the curb. There's really not a lot of room you can use to widen the corner, so you kind of have to take what you can. Now I'm telling you this right now. The toilet bowl corner over here, everyone and their Italian grandmother is cutting this corner to gain time. So I suggest you pretend you have an Italian grandmother and you cut this corner too as much as you can. Now, be careful getting back on the gas too early. I tend to play it a little safe here. Um, the second you hit the gravel over here, it's going to suck you out. So just keep that in mind. I tend to play it a little bit safe and just try to avoid the curb altogether. The next two S's over here, they are also flat out. However, you want to stick towards the left as much as you can for this one to then make yourself over to the right. Now, you could cut a little bit of it. Not a big deal. You just want to ideally avoid the wall over here. Now, again, for the last corner over here, there's like a dirt patch right here before the 50. It is a very, very small dirt patch, I will admit. But I'm kind of using this as my reference to brake and turn. And again, I want to aim for this little bit of gray area over here within the grass to give me grip. Just gradually get back on the gas. Now, I use the end of this curb over here as my braking reference. You just need a small amount of brakes. Again, you just want to clip a little bit of this. And basically, you should be able to straight line this as I am here. Again, finding treasures, using your tools. And then the last corner over here, there's a couple ways you can take it. I'm not the greatest at this corner, but I kind of know that basically as soon as that 50 board is about to disappear, that's when I want to start braking. Ideally, you want to pitch the car in early, use the understeer to kind of draw as much speed as you can out. And you want to use as much of this as you can. Now, there is some grip here, but I wouldn't use too much of it, in all honesty. If you clip the grass, it's going to spit you all the way out here, and you're going to get dirty tires. I'd probably say maybe for qualifying as a last-ditch effort, if you really want to reprieve, ride this out as much as you can and just go for it. But this line is a pretty safe line. Again, it's kind of like the toilet bowl corner. I try to avoid the outside curb if possible. And that is an episode on finding treasures using your tools. So, like I said, these are not easy. These are very, very, very advanced level stuff. We have a while until the next race, so I will see you guys on the other side. So take care.